Hello, friends. Welcome to the daily trivia show from Akulmach. In this program, we actually bring to you, some of the common known or not so well known, not so well known incident that happened today, 25th of July. What critical things happened today, and some of those we have selected from the entire list. Some are history related, some are technology related, and this is going to be very interesting, ride. So come along because we are going to start with the first event, and that is the railways. Invention of the railways. We all know that railways for almost 150 to 200 years were powered by the steam engine, but the steam engine required some sort of a power overhaul in order to pull this heavy weight of the trains. So even though the steam engine existed for almost 200 years, but to make it viable, I mean, you could put steam engine in many machines which are stationary, but to make it moving, to make it viable and to pull heavy load, you needed to get the steam engine or the steam engine work with steroid, and that was done by the father of the railways, as we call him, and his name was George Stephenson. He was the brilliance behind the first practical steam engine which was produced in UK, and that was known as rocket. It moved at very slow speed, but the whole magic of George Stephenson was to supercharge the steam so that it actually creates more pressure, and more pressure in the piston, more pressure in the piston will create more power, and thus will actually give lot of torque, and torque is directly translated into pulling energy. And until that time, steam engines were rather weak. They could do stationary jobs, they could run a mill, they could run a pump, they could take water from the river and fill a tank. But to do this actual kinetic work, you required this kind of thing. And for doing that, George used a very ingenious method where he actually boiled the water in the tubes. And I'm not sure whether you have seen the steam engine. There is a boiler, the black color boiler in the front, and inside the boiler there are many tubes. The whole invention of this tube, which were directly in contact with the fire, burn more efficiently, and water evaporates more efficiently in those tubes. This will also create more pressure, and water does not like to be compressed, but steam can be compressed because it is in the form of gas. So by creating super heated steam, pressurizing it, and then pumping it into the piston, created a truly remarkable locomotive, which that is why George Stephenson is known as the father of railways. So his first railway engine was produced, delivered, and tested today. All right, let's move to the next. So Mexico, is a country south of USA. However, Mexico was the Indian territory, which is the Native American territory, and it was occupied in the name of the King of Spain, monarch of Spain. So how come in a place like Mexico there was a ceremony for appointing an emperor, which is other than this Spanish monarch? That means there was a war for independence. There was sort of a breakaway faction which did not like the Spanish rule. There was a battle between Spain and the Mexican army, and finally Mexican won, and they created their own monarch because that's what they knew back in the days. There was no concept of democracy, etc. So who was crowned as the first emperor of Mexico in the year 1822? His name was Augustine the First. He was a general of the army, and Augustine de Iturbide was his name. He was crowned as the first king of Mexico. Moving on, we know that there are collar, especially all the collars are harder than the t-shirt collars. If you look at the shirt, The secret in making the collar its shape, giving it a shape, is there is a paper insert inside the collar. In fact, the collar has the inner as well as the external part. Between the inner and the external part, there is a insert which is made of paper, and the paper is long lasting, does not get spoiled with water, etc. It's a special paper. It is light enough, it does not hurt you, but it will help retain the shape of the collar. And therefore, this is a very remarkable piece of invention. Who invented the paper collar? His name is Walter Hunt. Walter Hunt not only invented the paper collar for the shirt, also invented the safety pin. And he also invented a lot of other things. He was the first one to patent all of these inventions, but never made any money out of these inventions, because he kept selling his patent to other people. Other people kept minting the money, but he did not made any substantial wealth out of his invention. But almost 5 to 6 items which we use daily today came from Walter Hunt in the original form. No changes, because they were perfectly designed way back. Moving on to the next one. This is a short one. US Army today is the largest army in the world, but US was a new country, and until 1866 they did not had a general. There was no general. However, in 1866 a general was appointed, the first general of the US Army. Do you know his name? He was a very popular guy, Ulysses S. Grant. He led the Union to victory against the Confederates, which is the South, and the Union was president was Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War, and then Ulysses S. Grant also became the president subsequently. So very, very famous name in history, because he was a master strategist, he was an army man, and he worked in tandem with Abraham Lincoln. So Ulysses S. Grant, very, very famous. Next, who was the first woman to walk in space in the year 1984 on 25th July? Any guesses? If you have some knowledge or some memory, please send in your comments. But let me open the answer for you. It is Russian cosmonaut Svetlana. She was the first one to step out of the spacecraft and walk in the space. First woman to walk in the space, Svetlana. All right, let's move ahead. Well, we have seen the women power and across the world, but India has been in the forefront. We have given our women the absolute power. In fact, right from our history and our mythology, there is a very important role that women plays. All right, even roughly the population of India, 50% are women, and the population of India is 1.4 billion. So a lot of people live in this country, and half of them are women. So it is but logical to have women leader. We know Indira Gandhi was a woman prime minister. However, who was the first woman president of India? We have the prime minister based governance. We do not follow the presidential form of governance. However, there is a president, and this is an elected president, and then we also have a prime minister. So so we will talk about this Indian political system later. But who was the first female president and was elected to the power in 2007? Her name was Pratibha Patil. Very, very famous Pratibha Patil. She served the entire 5-year tenure, and then she retired, and then subsequently she was followed by another president. Right now in 2025 we also have a female president, President Draupadi Murmu. All right, let's move ahead to the next one. All right, so we have come to the end of our daily trivia. I think these are certain facts which you must know, just in case if you are preparing for your national examination, and just to improve your general knowledge about important incident that happened in our history. So friends, thanks for joining me live, and I will catch you again in the next one.